My grandfather left me everything, and now my family hates me. Growing up, I was the invisible kid. My cousins were louder, prettier, more athletic. My siblings were the golden children, straight-A students, soccer stars, constantly praised by our parents. But me? I was tolerated. Quiet. Bookish. Polite to a fault. The only person who truly saw me was my grandfather. Grandpa Joe wasn't just some kind old man in the corner. He was a force. A World War II veteran, an engineer, a woodworker, a gardener, a storyteller. He built his house by hand. Raised 4 kids. Survived cancer, twice. The man was indestructible. And he adored me. Maybe it was because I listened to his stories when no one else did. Maybe because I spent my weekends helping him clean the garage or plant tomatoes. Or maybe because, like me, he never quite fit in with the family. Whatever the reason, he was the only one who made me feel like I mattered. So when he passed away last year, at 91, I was gutted. I was 28. Still trying to figure out life. Working 2 jobs, barely scraping by. But I dropped everything to be there when he got sick. I visited him every day. Read to him. Held his hand when he was too weak to speak. My family? They visited maybe once or twice. But the day of the funeral, they were front and center, crying louder than anyone. Cameras out. Selfies with the casket. It felt gross. Still, I stayed quiet. Like always. Then came the will. We all gathered in the lawyer's office. His name was Mr. Hanley, thin, gray-haired, nervous energy. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. Before we begin, he said, I just want to make it clear this was Mr. Joseph Connolly's final, legally binding testament. He was of sound mind. There are video recordings. Multiple witnesses. I say this because I expect there may be reactions. We all glanced at each other. Then he read it. To summarize. My mother, his daughter, got $5,000. Each of her siblings got $5,000. My cousins got nothing. My siblings got nothing. I got everything else. And I mean everything. His house, worth $500,000. His car, a vintage 1968 Mustang he restored himself. His investments, around $850,000. All of his personal possessions. It totaled to over $1.3 million. The room exploded. You manipulated him. What kind of sick freak takes advantage of a dying man? You're lying. This is forged. There's no way Dad would do this. They screamed at Mr. Hanley. At me. At each other. My mom just sat there, pale, shaking her head. I couldn't even speak. I was in shock too. I loved my grandfather. I never asked for this. Never expected it. Never even imagined it. But there it was, in black and white. When I got home that night, my phone lit up non-stop. My aunt accused me of stealing food from her children's mouths. My brother told me to do the right thing and divide the money. One cousin threatened to take me to court. My own mother said, you should be ashamed of yourself. I didn't respond to any of them. A week later, a letter arrived. It was from Grandpa. Mr. Hanley said he'd been instructed to mail it to me privately after the reading. I opened it, hands trembling. Dear Ellie. If you're reading this, I'm probably gone. And if I know this family, they're probably raising hell about the will. I want you to understand something very clearly. You didn't get this inheritance because I loved you the most, even though I did. You got it because you earned it. You were there when I was sick. You never asked me for a dime. You gave me your time, your patience, your heart. You listened when I spoke, even when I rambled. You helped me feel human again. You made me proud. Everyone else. They forgot me until they needed something. You were the only one who showed up before the money. Don't let guilt take this away from you. Live the life you deserve. With all my love. Grandpa Joe. I cried harder reading that than I did at his funeral. The backlash hasn't stopped. My mom cut me off completely. I'm no longer invited to holidays. I found a Reddit thread my cousin started titled, "My psycho cousin manipulated my dying grandfather into leaving her his entire estate." They told everyone their side of the story. But they don't know mine. They never asked. They don't know that I used the money to pay off my student loans. Donate $50,000 to the cancer wing that treated Grandpa. Start a small business I'd dreamed of for years. Buy a tiny fixer-upper in the town he loved, with the front porch he always talked about. They think I'm a gold digger. But I'm just a granddaughter who loved the only man who ever made her feel like she mattered. Sometimes I wish I never got the money. I wish he was still here instead. But I know what he wanted. And I won't dishonor that just to make toxic people comfortable. If you're reading this and going through something similar, you are not the villain for receiving love you earned, even if others can't see it. You are allowed to protect your peace, even from family. And most of all, you don't owe anyone your inheritance story. But thank you for listening to mine. Ellie. It's been a little over a year since my grandfather passed away and left me everything. In that time, I've rebuilt my life. I paid off my debts. Opened the used bookstore I always dreamed of. Renovated Grandpa's old cabin into a cozy home with a front porch where I drink my morning coffee and think about everything he gave me, not just money, but peace, purpose, and freedom. The rest of my family still hates me. Or so I thought. The unexpected visitor. About 2 weeks ago, I was at the bookstore late, closing up after a local book club meeting, when I heard the bell chime. I figured someone had forgotten their keys or umbrella. But when I looked up, it was my brother, Matt. I hadn't seen him since the day the will was read, when he screamed in my face and told me I was dead to him. He looked different now. Older. Tired. His hair was longer. He had that look people get when life has been chewing on them for a while. "Hey," he said. I stared for a moment before answering. "You're about a year late." He gave a short, awkward laugh. "Yeah. I know." We sat. I offered him coffee. He declined. There was a long pause before he spoke. "I owe you an apology." I didn't say anything. I just waited. "I was angry," he said. "Not because you got the money, honestly. But because, you were always the one no one noticed. And suddenly, you had something the rest of us didn't. And that pissed people off. Including me." He looked me in the eye. "You deserved it. All of it. And I was an **** hole." I didn't cry. I didn't throw my arms around him and say, "It's okay," like in a movie. But I did say, "Thank you." Because it meant something. Not everything. But something. He stayed for almost an hour. Told me about his divorce. How he lost his job. How he'd been couch surfing. How our mom refused to let him stay at her place unless he cut ties with the thief. That was still what they called me, the thief. Then came the real reason he was there. "I hate to ask," he said, not meeting my eyes. "But if you had a little money to help me get a place, even just first month's rent." And there it was. The moment. The test. What Grandpa would have done. I thought about what Grandpa would have said. He believed in helping people, but only when they were honest. When they showed remorse, not strategy. So I asked Matt a question: if I hadn't inherited anything, would you still be here? He was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. Probably not. I appreciated the honesty. So I offered him something, but not money. I know a guy who's looking for someone to help restore old furniture. It's hard work, but good pay. You take it, you'll earn your rent by the end of the month. He blinked. That's it? That's it. No handout. No check. Just a bridge, if he wanted to walk across it. He took a breath and said, "Okay. Now. It's been 2 weeks. Matt's working with that furniture guy. Shows up early. Leaves late. Covered in sawdust, but smiling in a way I haven't seen since we were kids. He hasn't asked me for anything else. And he's still sleeping on someone's couch. But I have a feeling, this might be the start of something real. Maybe we'll never be best friends. Maybe the rest of the family will keep calling me the villain. But if just one person is willing to see me now, the way Grandpa saw me, maybe that's enough. If you've been cut off, cast out, blamed, or hated for receiving an inheritance you didn't ask for, this is your reminder. You don't owe people what they refused to give you when you had nothing. But if someone comes back with open hands and an open heart, you get to choose whether to reach back. And that choice is yours alone. My aunt tried to sue me, but Grandpa outplayed everyone from the grave. I really thought things had settled down. After my brother Matt came back into my life, see previous update, I felt something shift. Just a little. A sliver of peace. A thread of healing. I started to believe that maybe the rest of the family would eventually let go of the hate. I was wrong. The lawsuit. It started with a letter. Thick, cream-colored envelope. Legal-sized. My heart sank as soon as I saw the return address, Law Offices of Randall and Sharp. I opened it, and sure enough, it was a notice of intent to file suit. My aunt, my mother's older sister, Cheryl, was suing me for undue influence and fraudulent inheritance. Her claim: that I manipulated a dying, vulnerable man into rewriting his will. That I used emotional coercion and intentional isolation to become the sole beneficiary. She demanded 50% of the estate. Retroactive rent for the house. Compensation for emotional damages. I nearly laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so insane, I didn't know what else to do. This is the same aunt who hadn't spoken to Grandpa in 5 years after he refused to fund her third failed business. But now that he was gone, and I had what she thought she deserved, she wanted to rewrite history. Lawyered up. I took the notice straight to Mr. Hanley, Grandpa's lawyer. He didn't even blink. I was expecting this, he said, sipping his coffee like he was discussing the weather. She's filed something similar before. Against her ex. And her brother. And her own daughter. He opened a drawer and pulled out a flash drive. Your grandfather prepared for this. What do you mean? I asked. He plugged it in, clicked a folder, and turned the screen toward me. It was a video. Grandpa's final message. There he was. Sitting in his workshop, sawdust on his flannel shirt, speaking straight into the camera. If you're watching this, Cheryl is probably doing what Cheryl does best, suing someone for something she thinks she's entitled to. I choked back a laugh. He continued. I want to make this clear, I changed my will of my own free will. No one forced me. No one influenced me. I left everything to Ellie because she was the only one who showed up when it mattered. If anyone challenges this will, I've instructed my attorney to release this video and a separate document outlining every dollar I've already given to the rest of the family over the years. He leaned closer to the camera. And Cheryl, if you're thinking about dragging my granddaughter through court, just remember, I kept receipts. The receipts. Mr. Hanley handed me a folder. Inside were bank statements, copies of checks, and signed agreements going back 20 years. Cheryl alone had received over $75,000 from Grandpa in loans she never repaid. There was even a signed note from her in 2011. I acknowledge this is a loan and not a gift. I will repay Joseph Connolly $25,000 within 2 years. She never paid a cent. The turning point. When Cheryl's lawyer received the file and the video, the lawsuit was dropped within 48 hours. No apology. No explanation. Just silence. It was over. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like closure. The last gift. That same week, I was cleaning out Grandpa's workbench, something I hadn't done since the inheritance madness began. Hidden beneath a false bottom in one of the drawers, I found a small wooden box with my name carved into it. Inside was a folded letter and a tiny gold pin shaped like a compass. The letter read, "Ellie. If you found this, it means you survived the worst of it. I'm proud of you. Not because you won, but because you didn't give in to their bitterness. This compass was my father's. He gave it to me when I left for the war. It doesn't point north. It points to home. Keep it close when you feel lost. You always had a better sense of direction than the rest of them. Love you, kiddo. Grandpa." I sat there, holding that tiny compass in my hand, crying in the sawdust and sunlight. It was never about the money. It was always about being seen. And in the end, Grandpa saw everything, every betrayal, every test, every truth. And he left me not just his house or his savings. He left me proof that I wasn't wrong for loving him the way I did. If you're still reading, here's what I've learned. People will hate you for breaking the family script, even if you do it with kindness. Money doesn't change people, it reveals who they really were all along. And sometimes, the most valuable inheritance isn't what you get. It's what you find in yourself once everyone else is gone. This will be my last update. Unless Cheryl crawls out of the woods with a new plan to sue me for emotional damage via ghost. Though if she does, I'm pretty sure Grandpa left a tape for that too. Thanks for listening. Stay strong out there. Ellie. It's been 5 years since the whole inheritance drama started. Since then, I've built a life I never thought possible. The bookstore is thriving, our little community hub for readers and dreamers. I've expanded it, hired staff, started hosting writing workshops and author visits. Grandpa's old cabin became my weekend retreat, a place where I find peace, inspiration, and, sometimes, a little magic. The family? Most of them still don't speak to me. Mom never reached out again. Matt and I have rebuilt a fragile but real relationship. The rest? Ghosts. I've accepted that some family ties are better left broken. But life has a way of surprising you. The letter. A few months ago, I got a letter addressed to me, handwritten, on old parchment paper. No return address. Inside was a photo of a man I'd never seen before. And a note. Dear Ellie. I'm your grandfather's grandson. Your cousin. My name is Daniel. I found out about you when he passed. I never knew he had another grandchild. I'd like to meet you. If you want to, that is. Daniel. My reaction. At first, I was shocked. Another cousin. Another secret. But also, curious. I emailed him. We started talking. Daniel grew up in a different state, with his mom, Grandpa Joe's youngest daughter, whom I barely knew existed. He told me stories about Grandpa I'd never heard. About a side of him hidden from most of the family. About kindness, humility, and the value of truth. Meeting Daniel. Last month, we met at a coffee shop. It was surreal. We talked for hours. Laughed about how strange life is. Shared family stories, memories, and even photos. It felt like finding a missing piece. What I've learned. Family isn't just about blood or money. It's about who shows up. Who stays. Who loves you, even when it's hard. And sometimes, family is found where you least expect it. Final thoughts. Grandpa Joe's legacy isn't just the house or the money. It's the strength to stand alone when you must. The courage to forgive, not necessarily others, but yourself. And the hope that love can grow in the cracks left behind. Thank you for reading my story. If you're struggling with family, inheritance, or secrets, remember, you're not alone.